Hi, everyone, and welcome to the breakout session, Small Words, Big Impact. I'm Lauren Pragoff, Vice President for Effortless Experience here at Challenger. I'm really looking forward to spending some time with you all today. I hope everyone is staying safe and healthy in their homes and that this virtual experience is bringing a lot of value to you as we work through these unprecedented times. As we get started with today's presentation, I want to take a step back, and some of this may be a bit of a recap for those of you who listened to Matt Dixon's presentation this morning during the opening keynote. But I think it's important to remember our overarching goal as customer service leaders. What we have found in our research is that any given customer service interaction is almost 4 times more likely to create disloyalty than loyalty. You can see over there on the bottom of the page, when we talk about loyalty, it's really 3 things. 1, that customers continue to buy from us or repeat purchase. 2, that customers buy more from us than they did in the past. That's share of wallet. Or 3, that customers recommend us to others. Positive word of mouth. So that's what we're really driving for in the customer service interaction. But what frequently we find is that we're creating the opposite. We're creating that disloyalty instead of boosting loyalty. And so, of course, it's natural then that we need to know what drives that disloyalty and how we can avoid it. And as we dig into the drivers of disloyalty, it's what you see over on the right-hand side of the page. Things like repeat contacts, having to switch around from different channels, transfers, which often goes hand in hand with repeating information, robotic service. So that's when you're talking to a human, or at least you're pretty sure it's a human, but it could be a robot because it just sounds so scripted. Policies and processes a customer has to endure. Things like filling out forms in triplicate, even though you're sure that the company already has all of this information on file. And last but certainly not least, that hassle factor. It just felt difficult to get my problem resolved or my question answered. And all of these things really fall under that umbrella of customer effort. And this was a really interesting discovery in our research, that idea of customer effort. And we have been talking with companies for a number of years about how they are reducing customer effort. And initially, what we found most organizations were doing was really focusing on the system and process, the do side of effort. And that's what you see over on the left-hand side of this screen. Companies told us, about 73% of them, that they were really focused on reducing that do side through system improvements, technology investments, process and policy enhancements to help reduce customer effort. Far fewer organizations were focused on that human interaction, the feel side of effort. But as we continued our research and as we dug into the data, what we were very surprised to see is that that human element, the human behavior, actually matters disproportionately more than the system and process, or the do side of effort. So we like to say effort is really 2/3 feel, 1/3 do. And this is an interesting implication in a world that is increasingly driven by technology. What we find is that your people matter more than ever. And it's not just making sure that your frontline staff members are practicing their soft skills. No, we are talking about a very different kind of customer service skills that are required to influence that perception of effort and to reduce your customers' overall effort. And so you'll see on this next slide, we're comparing those 2 different models. Over on the left, you have the old world, or that standard service model, where really our goal was about delivering consistent service, and we're reacting to what the customer is saying to us, and we're resolving the issue that they are talking about today. And in that old world, soft skills were paramount. We were really focused on creating a consistent experience, being friendly and professional, reflecting positively back on our organizations. And the focus ultimately was a relationship, really just building that rapport with customers. Interestingly, those types of skills, professional, friendly, etc., have little to no impact on reducing a customer's effort. So like I said, we need a new set of skills. We need to shift into a world where we are really meeting the expectations of the modern customer. And that's the low effort customer experience you see on the right-hand side of the page. This is one in which we're tailoring conversations to customers. We are being proactive in gathering information from them. And we are not just solving today's issue, but we are helping them kind of look around the corner, gaze into their crystal ball, and see what the future issues are going to be, and proactively resolve those as well. That type of service delivery requires a different set of skills. These are skills that help your reps actively guide a customer through an interaction, to anticipate emotional responses from customers and preemptively offer solutions that help create a mutually beneficial outcome. And outcome is the key word there. This is a focus for a low effort customer experience, because at the end of the day, customers really don't want a relationship with you. They didn't call you or your reps to make a new friend. They called to have their problem resolved. And so our goal should really be that outcome, that resolution, helping the customer put this to bed and get on with their day. That type of service experience reduces customer effort by 67 to 82%. So let me be a little bit more specific about the types of skills that are required to deliver that type of customer service. And what we have found through our research is that there are 9 skills that are required for delivering a low effort service experience. And we teach this skills framework as part of our Effortless Experience Capabilities Builder, which is a program to certify your representatives to deliver low effort customer service. And some of these may not be new to you. Certainly active listening is one that I'm sure all of you are quite familiar with. And we go into quite a bit of detail on many of these skills in our book, The Effortless Experience. What I would like to do today, however, is to spend the rest of our time together talking about one specific skill that actually isn't in the book, acknowledging baggage. So this skill came out of some research that we did after the book was published, and it really began with a question that we were hearing from service leaders, which was, how do we improve the quality of the live service interaction? How do we kind of take ourselves to the next level when it comes to that interaction between the customer and our people? As we thought about that question, though, I think that we kind of came to that realization that we needed to have a bigger picture view, because it's not just the interaction between the customer and the rep that can influence the way a customer feels about the overall experience. There are so many other things that go into a customer's assessment of their live service interaction. So it's things that you're seeing here on the page, their relationship with the companies. I've been a customer of yours for 25 years and I expect a certain level of service. It could be past service experiences, either with your company or with another organization. It could simply be the customer's mood. They're having a bad day, and that is going to cloud the way that they feel about the service quality that they're receiving from your people. And so as we really dug into this, we wanted to better understand how much of a customer's assessment of the live service experience happens from saying hello to saying goodbye, and how much of it happens beforehand. And so we did some regression analysis to better understand this. And what we learned is that the customer interaction outcome, so the way that the customer feels at the end of their service experience, is only 47% about what happens during the service experience, and it's 53% about what happened before your rep even had a chance to make an impact. So these pre-interaction factors are things like that customer's perception of the company's service, their value to the company, their general perception of the service industry. It doesn't even have to be a preconceived notion about your company. It could be a preconceived notion about somebody else's company, and because they had a negative experience there, they're expecting that their experience with you will also be negative. All of these things are customer baggage. And as you think about this, it's probably not surprising to know that most customers have baggage. In fact, 92% of customers have baggage when they are interacting with your service representatives. Baggage, however, can be scary. And your service representatives are certainly hearing this baggage coming from your customers, but they're not very frequently addressing it. In fact, what we hear from customers is that only 23% of the time are reps actually handling baggage. So that remaining 77% of the time where reps did not handle your customer's baggage, there are probably some pretty good reasons for it. So it could feel a little bit like poking the sleeping bear. Why would we want to open that can of worms if we can get away without having to acknowledge that past experience or that negative comment that the customer just made? Wouldn't that be better for everyone? Well, as it turns out, tackling that baggage head on is actually the best approach. And it may feel a little uncomfortable, but at the end of the day, what we're doing is we're helping the customer put it to bed. We're helping them set it aside and enabling them to move forward in a positive direction. And it's pretty easy to do. Before we go into how you can work with your reps to handle customer baggage, let's first take a look at an example and better understand the impact that this can have on the customer experience. So as part of our research, we did a couple of customer surveys and a straightforward A/B test where everybody in our survey received the same scenario. And you can see that across the top of the page here. In this scenario, you've ordered a tablet online and you're having problems with the battery. It's draining way faster than it should be. And you call customer service to get resolution to this problem. Now, as background, you as a customer have baggage. In fact, you've had multiple contacts with the company about this same issue, but did not get resolution. So in our test, half of our survey respondents received rep response A. We call this the typical response. In this situation, the rep is going to say, "Thanks for your purchase. I understand you're having problems with the battery. Let's start from the beginning, blah, blah, blah." This rep is acknowledging, thank you for doing business with us, being perfectly polite and straightforward, and working very quickly to try to troubleshoot this customer's issue. Rep response B, however, is the baggage handling response. So the other half of our survey respondents received this response from their representative. Here they're saying, "Thanks for your purchase. I understand you're having a problem with the battery. According to our system, it looks like you've called a couple times. Is that right? Tell me what you've tried already." And then we can take it there instead of having you repeat what you've already tried. In this situation, the rep is acknowledging the customer's baggage, that they've had to call multiple times, that this is not their first attempt at trying to solve this problem. And you can see that the impact is big. The customers in our survey who received this rep response B rated the quality of their experience 98% higher than the people who received that typical response. People who received this baggage handling scenario also rated their customer effort 84% lower than the people who received that typical response. So again, small changes to words, these reps are doing the same thing, but big changes to the outcome on how the customer feels simply by changing the way we're communicating. And you can understand from the customer's perspective that they're simply looking for acknowledgement. So having someone that actually read the notes on my account and start from there, very helpful. It's a great customer knowledge and it feels like they're advocating for me right away. So how do we get our people to start doing this? There are 3 basic steps to handling customer baggage. We're going to go through these one at a time and talk through a scenario as we do to illustrate how this works. So step 1 to handling customer baggage is knowing where it is. So we have to surface the baggage. To a customer, that's going to look like asking questions about previous steps or asking questions to understand my past experiences. But that's not the only way that you can surface customer baggage. So let's go to our scenario. We're going to use a financial service example here. And you can see that there's a lot of available customer information to our financial services representative. They are able to see all of those things you see on the left-hand side of the page through maybe a variety of sources. This could be based on notes in their CRM or ticketing system. It could be based on the customer's selection in the IVR, which is now popping onto the screen. It could be things that they are actively hearing the customer say, or things that they're asking the customer about to surface that additional information. So there are lots of ways to gather or surface that potential baggage. Step 2 is, of course, then acknowledging the baggage. And from the customer's perspective, this is that you are understanding their situation. Now, per my previous points around sometimes baggage is a scary thing to acknowledge, it's important to know that perhaps not all baggage should be acknowledged. And so as we think about how to determine when to acknowledge baggage, we suggest that there should be 2 considerations that your reps use. So of all of that available information, let's filter it to better understand which types of information are baggage worth acknowledging. So consideration number 1 is recency. Has this issue happened recently to this customer? If I'm seeing in our case notes that a customer had a poor experience with us 2 years ago, or I'm seeing that a customer had a poor experience with us 2 weeks ago, those are very different situations. One, the 2 weeks ago, is probably worth acknowledging. The 2 years ago, maybe that's one that we leave alone. The second consideration is impact. So has this baggage had a high impact to this customer? And it's important to remember that impact is relative. It's in the eye of the beholder. So in this situation, it's not what you think might be a high impact or what your reps might think would be a high impact. It's what the customer thinks is high impact. So for example, a customer may say, you know, your error cost me $5. And again, that may not seem like big impact to you, but if the customer is out there putting a specific dollar figure on your error, then that was clearly a big impact to them. And that's worth acknowledging. So recency and impact are the filters that we're going to use. And as a result, our financial services representative is going to determine that out of all of the available information, there were only a few specific relevant pieces of baggage that we should be including and acknowledging in our response and in the way that we are handling this customer service inquiry. And that takes us to step 3, which is really about demonstrating advocacy and ownership. Again, from the rep's perspective, this is, from the customer's perspective, it's about taking the larger relationship into consideration and treating me the way I deserve to be treated. Again, it's in the eye of the beholder. So that advocacy and ownership is the last piece of the puzzle. And this part will sound a little bit different depending on the types of issues that your company handles, or the types of questions that your customers are coming to you with. But here are some examples of what it might sound like to demonstrate that advocacy and that ownership, which quite frankly are skills unto themselves, how to demonstrate that advocacy. But quickly it can sound like things like, I know you're a valued customer. I hear you saying X, Y, Z. Is that correct? Or I hear that you've tried those things. I'll be sure to pass along your comments. It sounds like you've had to call us before. So this is kind of head-on, straightforward acknowledgement of what I am hearing or what I am seeing about your context, and we're going to acknowledge that. How do you know if it works? Well, generally speaking, what you are wanting to hear from your customer is relief. You want your customers to feel like there is this weight that has been lifted, that you are taking the burden off of their shoulders and putting it onto your reps. And so from the customer perspective, you may hear things like, I feel good that this is finally going to get resolved. Or thanks for taking the time to walk me through this. I'm glad we got to the bottom of it. Again, it's just this sense of relief on the part of the customer, and has a major impact on their overall perception of their experience and of their effort that is being put forth to have their issue resolved. So in closing, just a quick summary of what we covered here together today. A quick definition of customer baggage. So these are those past experiences, perceptions, or facts that occur before the live service interaction. And these are not always related to the current issue, but they do influence the customer's expectations of the service and their perception of the interaction itself. How do we handle customer baggage? We covered 3 specific steps. First was that surfacing, so knowing where to look for information. It can be systems, it can be active listening, it can be purposeful small talk, very strategic questioning of the customer service representative so that they can gather more information. Step 2, determining what to acknowledge. We talked about those 2 filters, recency and impact, using those to better understand which baggage we should acknowledge and which baggage might be better left alone. And then step 3, using advocacy and ownership as a way to move forward positively with this customer and to resolve their issue. So again, it was a very quick overview of one of our 9 low effort skills that are part of the Effortless Experience Skills Framework. I'm Lauren Pragoff. I hope that this was valuable for you, and we'll see you again soon.